everybody. It's been a long time since I've made a video, and today I'm wearing a grill, just to be funny. So, the serious part about this video is because I haven't actually been able to tell this whole story, being that I've literally repressed all of the memories of what had happened. And for the past 13, 14 years, I was wondering why I was out on the streets with nothing and what I did to deserve it, because I couldn't remember what had happened. And more recently I've been getting flashbacks of it, dreams. I've been able to put the pictures together. Little bits of it keep coming back. So here's what happened with my ex-husband. Let me tell you all to begin with, please listen. This isn't a story about romance or cheating or any of that other bullshit people go through when they get a divorce. This is a real story. And how it happened is pretty tragic. I'm okay. This isn't a pity me story, but this man is out there and he has children. And, let me begin by saying that I started dating Rob when I was 14, and he was old enough to buy liquor. It kind of makes him a bit of a predator, and it took a long time for my parents to begin to even accept him. They told me he was selfish, but I didn't know he was this selfish. Okay, so let's say 1991 I start dating him. I got married in 1997. My parents finally reluctantly let me marry him. It wasn't their fault, really. I'm a very, very, very persistent person. And I thought that, Rob was a little selfish, but I overlooked it because you take the good with the bad. Okay, let's move on. When I was 28 years old, I started noticing something wrong. I had gotten ill. My mother had died. I had trouble dealing with it. I became anorexic. I stopped eating. I became very sick. I'm sure I wasn't exactly the wife that Rob wanted at that time, which is fine. But how he got rid of me defies logic. Let me explain. Okay. In December of 2002, well, let's move back. In September of 2002, I noticed some problems. Rob's mom had been acting pretty bad, and Robbie's mother was quite difficult, but I accepted that as well. I also had learned to accept that Rob was a mama's boy, and he would often put his mother far before me. For example, I spent my 16th birthday in the grocery store with his mother. Because she wanted to go grocery shopping, my birthday was not important at all. So he prioritized with his mother first no matter what. It hurt. It was abuse, really. But I didn't realize it at the time. He was the only real boyfriend I'd ever had. Okay, so we're going back to this time that his mother insisted that he go to Cumberland alone with her. Okay, he comes back home and tells me immediately that his aunt's girlfriend, that I used to actually affectionately call Uncle Kim, she wanted to be my friend. Well, I don't have very many friends. I have Asperger's. I'm on the autistic spectrum. So, I thought, okay, but I knew something was a little weird about him going to Cumberland alone, because he never did that. And his mother had been acting funny, and he'd been going up to her apartment a lot. Next thing I know, within the same week, he wants to sell the car that I entered the relationship with. It was a very expensive car. He paid nothing on it. I paid for it. My dad paid for it. My mother paid for it. We all paid for it, but not him. I was reluctant, but he said, well, you can take the blue one. We had a red and a blue neon. So, what the heck? The blue one? Sure. Same car. Actually, a newer one. I reluctantly watched him sell my car and hand over the title, and kind of thought something was a little bit up. At the same time, I remember him a week before our anniversary in October asking me if I wanted to date other people. There was more things that happened, but I'm going to cut this short because it gets boring if I do all the details. Anyway, what happened next is atrocious. December 2nd, 2002, I get a phone call, and it's Kim. Now, she had been hanging out at my house. She'd been on my computer. I'd been on her, well, she didn't really have a computer, but I'd been on her calculator. I don't know. We had been to each other's house. I thought, well, she's okay. We were hanging out. She calls me and asks if I can take her to work in Cumberland because her car broke down. Things have been going a little weird, but I really didn't think she would do anything to hurt me. So I drove 45 minutes in the blue car to pick her up for work, and she wanted to drive, but she had always wanted to drive my car, and I always let her. She had never had a nice car in her life. We go past her work, and I notice she's pulling onto the interstate. I said, Kim, what's going on? And she looks at me, and she said, I've always secretly hated you because you have nice things. And today you're going to learn what it's like to not have nice things, because by the end of the day, you're going to have nothing. I said, what do you mean, Kim? She said, well, you've already been replaced. Surprise. And she said, basically, by the end of the day, you are going to leave with your body and nothing else. She said that she was going to prove that I had committed an infidelity against Rob, which I had not. And she was going to basically let me go with my body because she thought I would kill myself. I'm like, really? Then she starts screaming at me and choking me, driving my car erratically all over the road. She's swerving around, actually goes off to the side of the road. I try to jump out the door. I remember her choking me out. I woke up back in the car. She kept hitting my face, boxing my ears. She was screaming at the top of her lungs over and over again this nonsense that how could I cheat on Rob, and really? Well, so she keeps doing this, and then we get to the house. It was horrifying. I get to the house and I shut the door and lock it very, very quickly and run to the phone to dial 911. She had a key. We gave her a key. She walks right into the house, grabs the phone out of the wall, and starts beating me over the head with it. And I'm screaming, I'm saying, stop, get out, you're crazy, stop this. And then she starts screaming really loud nonsense in my ear. Her girlfriend, Aunt Tam at the time, comes downstairs, and she's trying to participate, but I could tell she really didn't want to. And then I thank Aunt Tam still to this day for leaving because she knew that it was wrong. In the meantime, Kim's screaming as loud as she can that I was, everything kind of gets blurry at this point, but it was just screaming and screaming and screaming. They blew my eardrums. I mean, I believe they did because both my ears were bleeding. And one of my ears, even after my dad had picked me up, started bleeding the next day. It was really, really weird. They kept boxing my ears. Well, it was her at the time, and then Rob gets home. I look at Rob, I say, Rob, stop her. She's crazy. She's hurting me. Stop her. Please, stop her. And that was between yelling, because I could never get a word out edgewise. She just kept screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and wouldn't even let me talk. I was out of breath. I had tears in my eyes. I was collapsed on the floor, and she just kept doing it. So Rob looks at Kim, and he says, what's next? The screaming continues, and then in between, Kim's telling me she's my best friend. Bullshit. At that point, I'm just like, I just want to leave. I don't even give a shit about my belongings. Belongings are belongings, but a lot of stuff I had gotten from my mother. So, she basically then tells Rob to walk into the other room, and they grab my gun. I had a 9mm at the time. They come out holding my gun to my head after they called my father to come pick me up, or they would kill me. And they told me to take off all my jewelry. They empty out my wallet. My dad picks me up. The next morning I find out I've been taken off the bank account and the locks have been changed. That was quick. So I basically at that point had no home, no income, nothing, because my checks had gone into Rob's account. But as soon as the money would hit there, he'd put it in a joint account with him and his mother. So, it gets worse. What happened after that is what few things I was allowed to have, they had packed up for me several weeks later. They put them all in boxes. Some of the boxes were full of garbage, and everything fit into half of the back of a pickup truck that I was allowed to keep out of my whole life's work. College, great job, education, everything that I had put into my whole life. But that's not a big deal. I lost the whole family in one night. His whole family half turned on me, half, I don't think really knew the details of what was going on, had been my family since I was 14. I knew them very well. I loved them. I lost a grandma, a stepdad, a stepmom, a mom, kind of, even though she was my mother-in-law, and you know the mother-in-law stories. It gets better, though. Rob managed to keep 2 months' worth of my checks before I was able to get Social Security to send them to me. After that, I remember calling my house. As you can see, I'm a little fuzzy, but the weekend, we had to go on a trip that weekend, and it was okay, because I wasn't going back in there. I tried to call Rob to see if we could figure something out, and he said unless I admitted by phone only to an infidelity that I did not commit, he wanted to say nothing to me, and anytime I would mention Kim or money, he would hang up on me, after making sure I didn't call the police, or I would be killed. The day I left, I was actually told that this was a new life, and that Heather had died. That used to be my name. Not anymore. I'm Josie now. I'm probably going to get my name changed, but I'm actually admitting stuff I normally wouldn't online. I remember going on a trip, my ear bleeding the whole time, not being able to mention Kim, Rob keeping everything. Next thing I know, he calls me up and wants to meet me. It was sometime later. Like, he said I wouldn't get a penny till after the divorce, so I was forced into a divorce within 3 days. Which is fine. I mean, couples split up. Shit happens. But I remember him meeting me for dinner one time. I was afraid they were going to kill me, because I knew he wasn't going to find this evidence they needed to prove that this infidelity, that would mean that he owed me nothing. But what's mine's still mine, isn't it? I thought so. He shows up for dinner, sits there and orders himself a big chicken fillet, and says, I hope you brought enough money for yourself. This is after he invites me to dinner. I thought, what's he want to talk about? But he said, I hope you brought enough money for yourself, because I only brought enough for me. Well, I had 33 cents short for a cup of coffee. That's all I had for the month at that point. I was broke, homeless. I was really hungry, actually, but that's beside the point. So I told him, I'm only 33 cents short, man. And he goes, well, go check out on the parking lot and under your car seats for change. Yeah, I had a car by then, thanks to some help, but seriously, I ended up losing that due to not getting a penny back from any of my money that I could have actually made good on the car deal. Got a car now, so I'm fine, but so he sits there and eats a steak in front of me while I'm drinking a glass of water, and then makes me sign this paper that he had made an attempt to get back with me. Anyway, I signed it, whatever. I just wanted him to owe me something, really. But it turns out this went on, and about 2 weeks before the divorce was scheduled, he called me up and said that he had a bunch of embarrassing information on me that he was going to show in court unless I admitted by phone only to infidelity. And he read, like, off this piece of lawyer paper or something, all the definitions of infidelity. What an idiot. Okay, so then, oh man, I don't have a video editor, so sorry. I remember that I wouldn't do it. I said, embarrass me. And he hung up the phone. So I was afraid he was going to kill me, because I knew at that point he hadn't found that evidence that he thought that would free him of any responsibility. I figured him or Kim or somebody was going to blow my brains out. As I said, I was told I was only allowed to survive because they knew I'd kill myself. I had been thrown off his insurance policy. I had no way to get any of my medication that I had been on. Not that I needed it really, but the withdrawal was horrible. I threw up every day for about 3 years. It was, it was an antidepressant, and serotonin withdrawal is horrific and can last many, many years after you stop the medication. Well, that's irrelevant. The point being is that what this man did to get rid of me was brutal. It wasn't about objects. It wasn't about a relationship. I never had time to mourn his loss. I was too busy trying to survive. Not a tear. It gets better, though. I remember it was only about a year ago I started getting flashbacks, calling other people Rob, waking up thinking I was in my old house, and then suddenly Rob shows up online. Wants to talk to me on Facebook. Okay. We start talking, and he said, I hope your dad isn't mad at me. I said, well, you haven't really made any effort to find out. And he said, maybe I should go say hi. I said, Rob, why don't you try sending him a holiday card? Maybe even, like, for Christmas, a gift card for, like, $20, just to say that you care. And he did, and his answer was so out of touch with reality that it frightened me for his children and his family. I remember the words exactly. He said, you snooze, you lose. This gravy train done left the station. Find yourself a new free ride. I was never a free ride. I always had a good income. Even on disability, I had an income that pretty much paid our bills. He had fun money, and all that stuff that he bought that was just his, he bought because he had my income. So that's my Rob story, and I'm making it public. And I'm about to write some newspapers about it, so if I wind up dead, that's why, but it was worth it. Have a nice day, everybody, and this is probably the only real me you've ever seen, admitting to things that I don't normally say online. Have a great day, everyone. Stay positive. Bye-bye.